What's good, guys? Good morning, good afternoon. I don't know where you are. I'm glad you're here, though. Ethereum at all-time highs, crossing above $3,000. I think $3,100 as we record this. It is going vertical, straight up only mode. The second largest cryptocurrency, making new all-time highs. It's insane to watch. I'm not even excited about that chart, though. I'm looking at the Ethereum Bitcoin chart. It's coming up on the show, a breakout that has not happened in 3 years. Why I think it's so important. We're going to look at whether traders are driving this move, and that means it's going to retrace, or investors are driving this, and it's actually quite healthy. I'll answer that question, and we also have Bitcoin. Have to talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin with a really strong weekly open. Kind of had a weak showing last week. It looked like it started to run out of steam. Actually opened quite strong on Sunday going into Monday morning. And I also have one trade idea coming up for you. That's XRP. It's going to get me in trouble for even talking about it. I know some people hate Ripple. But look, it's the Profit Maximalist show. I'm just looking for a good trade, a good narrative. And there's a rumor going around out there that I think could pump Ripple. I'm looking at it as a trade. I'm going to give you my thoughts there. That's all coming up on the show. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let's dive into it.
There's only one way out from here, and that's up.
All right, so actually, before we start the show, before I start talking about Ethereum and this insane push, but first, little housekeeping. I have not been able to put out a new YouTube, a new podcast, a new Profit Maximalist episode in like 2 or 3 weeks. My YouTube got banned. My email that I upload podcasts with, I haven't been able to log into. Some of that I kind of can't control with YouTube. The other part, someone keeps trying to reset my password on Gmail, which is always fun. The joys of having a very large and public Twitter account. But it's all sorted out now. We're good to go. And to make up for it, I'm going to be doing a daily market update every single day in May. And we also have the DeFi series. I've teased it for about a month, but I have 8 or 9 of the sharpest hedge funds in the space. With Ethereum booming, trust me, those DeFi coins are going to do quite well too. I'm asking them about their investment approach, their strategies, what coins they're looking at. That is an entire DeFi series coming out right here on the show. So I want you guys to stay tuned for that. Be sure to subscribe right down below. Hit the like button if you're excited for these market updates coming out every single day. It's good to be back. I hate taking a break that long, but we're back. All right, so let's dig into ETH. Let's just take a look at this thing because ETH right here, ETH at 3151. This has to be the most beautiful chart I've maybe ever seen. It's phenomenal. ETH going straight up. It's going vertical. I know this chart scares you a little bit, but just think back to end of last month when ETH was at $2,000. That was the previous all-time high, right? We had a little bit of resistance there. We topped out once there. We top out right below 2K again. This is all during March, April. And then after that happened, right, that previous resistance at 2K flipping to support. And now in the past 2 weeks, price ripping higher a full, 50% higher now in just 2 weeks. And I know as some people see this, they say, man, this isn't sustainable. Is this traders getting too ahead of themselves? Are they leveraging up, right? Are we going to have this blow off top? I can't be an ETH, right? It has to pull back. I'm going to refute that a little bit. I don't think that's the case. I actually think this is a very healthy rally. We're going to get into that in a second, but I want to show you the Eth Btc chart first. And the reason I want to show you this, I think it's incredibly important. I think it's also one of the most exciting breakouts we've had in the market in a couple of years, right? Like it's insane how nice this Eth Btc chart is. And on my screen, or for anyone listening, right, one of the ways you can measure any cryptocurrency is in dollar. But I think the more valuable way to measure up how good is a crypto doing, right? How good is an altcoin doing? Is it actually outperforming Bitcoin, or is it only going up because Bitcoin is to use the Eth Btc chart, or the Alt BTC chart. And ETH for the past 1,000 days, a full 1,000 days, ranged, right? We had this ranging period where price was basically stuck between 0.02 and 0.04. There's the only prices that Eth Btc traded at. And as that goes on for 1,000 days or 3 years, what we just witnessed in the past 7 or 10 days is finally a breakout of the 0.04 level. I think this is the most technically exciting chart in the market. I think it's also the most important chart to be focused on if you're an altcoin trader, if you're a crypto investor at all. I don't think that you can ignore this breakout, right? When a chart or an asset, I don't care if it's a stock, I don't care if it's Bitcoin or ETH, when you spend 1,000 days accumulating, and instead of the range giving out, right? Instead of price doing this for 1,000 days, bouncing back and forth, and then demand dropping off and price breaking to the downside, that's not what happened at all, right? Demand actually kept stepping up, right? And over the past 3 to 6 months, ETH had this breakout now in the past 7 days We've gotten above the range. I think that's technically the most constructive, strongest, positive thing we could have happen for ETH. And that's not even to mention the microstructure. What's happening right now, a lot of investors, not too many traders. It doesn't even mention, the narrative going on. It doesn't even talk about the JP Morgan coverage and the mainstream media coverage that's about to happen. This is just from a technical standpoint. I think ETH looks great. So I know the dollar chart is scary. I think in this instance, the ETH USD chart is just there to scare you. As I look at an outlook for ETH versus Bitcoin, just trying to get a roadmap of how this can play out, I do think this 0.058 area could act as some resistance. That's 5 or 10% off. And then past that, 0.07, right? I really think that's kind of the next area on the chart that I want to be aiming for. That's a 20 or 30% move higher. But regardless, if ETH pulls back at all to the 0.04s, all that matters is price stays above this range that we hung out in. I'm just going to highlight this range here in yellow, right? We used to trade in here. This is where we traded for 1,000 days, 3 years. ETH breaking out in the past week, I think, is the best signal you can get as to this thing is outperforming Bitcoin. It accumulated, the market clearly decided, the demand has stepped up, and it's time for this thing to start outperforming and continue outperforming. Very exciting for ETH, and that's why everyone's talking about it. It's why price had no problem going from 2K to 3K. But you do have to ask yourself, right? Is ETH, is this too much too fast? Are traders getting over leveraged? Is this healthy? Are we due for a serious correction? I'm going to show you why I don't think that's the case. There's going to be dips. There's going to be pullbacks, right? So don't take that the wrong way. But I'm going to show you something and what's happening with the funding rates. It's a very good way to get an idea of if traders are driving this move or if investors are driving this move. And what the funding rate does for derivatives versus spot prices or the index price is they act as a way to keep that derivatives price in line with what's actually happening in the spot markets. So whenever you have a very positive funding rate or longs, people that are getting leveraged long on Bitcoin or on ETH, whenever it gets ridiculously high, you know that funding rate is acting as a way to keep that derivatives price in line. Way too many people are getting levered long, trying to drive up that price short term, speculating on upside, right? Adding leverage, adding the 10x, adding the 100x, and things go south quick when that happens. But that has not been the case, and they're still relatively low. And I'm not the only one that thinks that. Kyle Davies, the co-founder of 3 Arrows Capital, I've had him on the show before, one of the sharpest traders I know. He runs one of the largest hedge funds in the space that I know. He was talking about ETH funding, and he said the funding is low because they're investing, not speculating. They're using, right? People are using these DeFi applications. People are using Uniswaps of the world and the decentralized exchanges and lending. They're using NFTs, right? They're not just punting. They're preferring wealth. They're not getting licked. That's a big change from previous ETH runs when price would rise and we'd have a nasty sell-off immediately after. And I'm not saying that can't happen again, but right now, that is not the case. This is very investment-driven, not as much trader speculation driven. I'm going to show you another chart that illustrates that point a little bit more clearly because I think that ETH USD chart is scaring people, but I'm giving you an objective take. What's the data showing? Is this traders pumping this up or is this actual money coming in? You have to understand that it's going to drive your decision of do you stay long ETH or is it a good time to get out? Are things getting too out of whack? The funding rate for Ethereum has been ridiculously high all through April, right? Pretty normal, 0.02, 0.03, 0.04. That's what we're used to with ETH. As it's gone higher, 2.5, 2.8, as it's clearing that to start May and now at 3K, funding hasn't been this low in over a month. I mean, funding is dropping off dramatically. So if anything, during this most recent rally for Ethereum, there's less traders participating in the run-up. This is all investment money coming in. And it's not to say there can't be a pullback or a retracement. That's always going to happen. I'd love to buy Ethereum at Eth Btc 0.041, 0.0415, right? I'd love to buy an ETH pullback to the 2500s, 2200s, if that happens. But right now, it's not looking like that's about to happen, right? Sure, we could get a pullback. But if we're looking at the numbers of are traders driving this move and are we due for a wipeout where we have to clear out some of that leverage, get rid of some of the traders that got too aggressive, I just don't see that happening right now for Ethereum. And there's another group of people that had a pretty interesting perspective on Ethereum. This was my favorite research report that came out last week. This was from JP Morgan. And they asked, why is ETH outperforming? They did a comprehensive report. I think they got some stuff right, some stuff wrong. I'm going to talk about what's actually driving this ETH move. But they were talking about, they said, both Bitcoin and ETH markets experienced a comparable liquidity shock earlier this month, triggered a de-levering of their respective derivatives markets. They were talking about in April where there was a nasty sell-off really quickly and we bounced back. Now what happened was The ETH spot market depth recovered much quicker, and if anything, liquidity conditions on some exchanges is better than prior. And they just go on to say it suggests that ETH valuations are less dependent on levered demand than Bitcoin, a technical but occasionally important tailwind going forward. So I do think they're spot on, right? They're looking at the same numbers that I am. Funding is not out of whack. This isn't traders driving this thing from 2K to 3K in a couple weeks. This is investment coming in. This is spot buying coming in. And that's generally viewed as a healthier market participant because the guy buying spot ETH and holding it in his wallet is way less apt to sell than the guy that's levered long 10 or 50x ETH, right? If I'm levered long 50x ETH and ETH drops 2%, I got to sell. If ETH drops 2% and I bought spot ETH, I don't have to do anything. I'm probably still holding my ETH, right? So that's all JP Morgan was highlighting. I think it's also interesting to see mainstream media and the Wall Street banks getting on the ETH coverage. It's just another positive sign. But I mean, honestly, that only covers the technical perspective and the market structure perspective for ETH. The real reason I'm so bullish and have been bullish on Ethereum is because of EIP 1559. It's an upgrade that's coming out in a few months for Ethereum. Crossing your fingers it actually happens. It's always a bit of a meme, these ETH upgrades. They get paused, they get delayed. I've done a full episode on how Ethereum supply is going to be deflationary. You guys all know how positive it is for Bitcoin, that there's rising demand and the amount of supply hitting the market each day is decreasing. Imagine when ETH is deflationary. I did a full video on this, so if you want an actual understanding of the narrative driving this, hit the video right down below. I had on David Hoffman to explain it all. I think you guys will enjoy that. That's the narrative side of things. I cover the trading side of things. That is why Ethereum is rising, and I think Ethereum looks great here. I think it looks healthy. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Now, while the Bitcoin start to this week was actually quite positive, right? We actually had a really nice weekly open on Sunday. This little light blue line marks the weekly open here for Bitcoin. As Sunday kicked off and Monday morning, we've had a really strong start for Bitcoin, right? It popped from 56K. We're already back up to 58, 59, challenging 60K pretty soon. It's a really hot start for Bitcoin, right? I can't say anything bad about it there, but you guys all know how the end of April went for Bitcoin. Really kind of ugly, right? It honestly looked quite weak. I think that's an understatement, right? We had this rising wedge formation playing out. We had a confirmed breakdown. And yes, we've had a very strong bounce back for Bitcoin. I just think that the trading perspective, the trading picture, the setup on Bitcoin is a lot less clear. And also, it's kind of lacking, a really strong catalyst right now. Obviously, if a Michael Saylor steps in, Facebook announces they're going to buy. That didn't come true last week. People were crossing their fingers thinking that was going to happen. That didn't happen, right? It's tough. I love being long Bitcoin. I think that's the only way to play this thing. It keeps going up. That dip to the low, 50Ks, 48K was bought up. I'm just long Bitcoin, and any trades that I'm making are happening with my Bitcoin trading bot. It's been the best Bitcoin trading bot on the market ever since I launched it in the past 3 months. You can check that out on Stacked. I also have a deal. If you listen to this show, I'm giving you a free trial. All that information is down in the show notes under my YouTube. So if you listen on iTunes or Spotify and you want an automated trading system that can trade Bitcoin for you, it's beating the Bitcoin market, earning you more Bitcoin, check that out. That's the only way I'm trading Bitcoin, guys. As I look at this, I'm just not so sold that we can continue to push to new highs immediately. I think right now as we enter the week, I'm actually viewing the current level that we're at right now, this 58K, actually as resistance. And even if we do get higher, we're kind of still stuck at this 60K resistance, right? The picture is just a little bit less clear. It's kind of an ugly chart. I'm not so excited to be trading Bitcoin. Sure, I'm still bullish. Sure, I don't think the bull market is over. Sure, we can go higher. But I'm just not too excited about opening new trades here. A really hot start to the week for Bitcoin. If we can get above 59K and we have daily closes above 59K, then sure, right? I could see a trade. But for right now, as we kind of start Monday, I'm looking at 58, 59K's resistance. I do think Bitcoin maybe cools off a little bit here. I don't think that would be a bad thing. I just don't really have a trade for you. I'm going to talk in circles if I cover any more Bitcoin stuff. Much more excited about ETH. And the trade idea that I'm excited about is neither of those. It's actually XRP. And this might shock you. I know a lot of people hate Ripple. I'll be the first to say it. I think XRP is a shitcoin. I'm not quite sure of its use. They've gotten in some trouble with the SEC. It's not so clear whether or not they're going to get out of that trouble. But this is the Profit Maximalist Show. I'm just looking for trades in the market, and there's a fun little narrative brewing here for XRP. So if we take a look at that chart again, the reason I'm excited for this trade is XRP has kind of acted as like a levered ETH play. And all I mean by that is XRP, when ETH moves, right, generally you have other majors that move. You have EOS that moves, you have Litecoin that move, you have XRP that moves, right, ADA. All these coins kind of move together. If one large alt is moving, the other large alts are probably moving as well. In XRP, the moves have just been so juicy. I mean, the moves are insane on a daily time frame, constantly moving 10 to 20%. And XRP isn't at its highs yet of where it was, just in April? So it still hasn't fully recovered from that breakdown that we had at the end of April, that Bitcoin went through, that ETH went through. It's had a strong bounce back, but we haven't cleared these highs yet. So I still think there's some really nice upside potential until the highs. But just like with ETH, it's really important to look at the BTC chart, right? How is XRP doing versus Bitcoin? And as I look at this, we had this consolidation brewing in April. It would have been a really bad sign if XRP was to break down out of this consolidation. That isn't what happened. And, putting your emotions aside, putting your biases aside, this is a bullish breakout, right? We have resistance, we have resistance, we have support, we have support. And as price consolidates and trades in a tighter range, if demand breaks us out of that consolidation, that to me looks like a breakout. If anything, right, I think XRP versus Bitcoin drops maybe 5 or 10%. I'd love to buy that, and I think that this thing rips for new highs. The reason it actually has less to do with the charts, it's on a rumor that's circulating. This is just a rumor. I'm not suggesting that anyone go take a trade. I'm just sharing with you guys what I'm looking at, what I'm doing, and why I think it's quite exciting. I stumbled across some news. It came out in the past 5 or 6 days. It looks like it came from SBI, which is a very large investor in Ripple. It's one of the largest outside shareholders of Ripple, other than Ripple themselves. And everyone knows that Ripple right now is going through a case with the SEC, whether or not it's legal. They actually sold the XRP token. But what they announced was, and what SBI said, is that after the current lawsuit, Ripple will go public. That's what the CEO of SBI said, which is the largest investor of Ripple, right? Ripple, the company, is separate from XRP, the coin. But still, think about it like this, right? Coinbase going public was positive for Bitcoin. I don't care how you spin it. It's positive that we have the largest cryptocurrency exchange in the US going public. It adds legitimacy. It means Bitcoin probably won't get banned. And there are a lot of brainlets out there that are going to look at XRP and say, wow, if Ripple, the company, is going public, maybe XRP is legit, right? So I'm not at all saying XRP is legit. I'm saying Dogecoin can go to 50 cents. I don't think it's outlandish to think that if XRP, this is very speculative, but this is what I'm looking at, if XRP does get through the lawsuit and if this narrative builds some steam, it looks like Chris Larson and CEO of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse, have both supported that they want to go public. And, I think if this gains some more steam in the next 12 months, we're going to see IPOs. Brad Garlinghouse said it. I expect us to be on the leading side, right? These are positive things. So if this continues, there's some things in the air. I think not only does the chart for XRP look quite good, you also have on the backside of that, this just tends to move the exact same as ETH, right? There's different factors driving it, but it's a very highly correlated industry, right? If ETH moves up, XRP generally moves up, and we have 3 things going for it. We have the chart breakout for Ripple, we have the high correlation of XRP and ETH, and we also have this really fun speculative narrative right now. I'm not sure it happens. I'm not telling you to go out there and buy XRP. I am telling you it's probably one of the most exciting trades I'm tracking outside of ETH right now. I think that XRP actually looks quite good, and I do think we break through to new highs. The current highs for 2021 for XRP right now are $2, which means if we get back above that $2, it's a nice 25% move. I do think that happens. I'm long XRP for that reason. Not at all suggesting you do it. That is a trade I'm looking at, though. I want to bring you guys some insights. Just share my thoughts, how I'm looking at it, at least give you some perspective. You can go short, bet against me. I don't care. That's what I'm looking at for XRP. And that right there, guys, that's a Profit Maximalist show. I'm glad to be back. I'm going to be doing these market updates on Bitcoin, Ethereum. I'm coin agnostic. I want to cover it all. I'm just interested in covering the key trends, the key themes, everything that you need to know if you're trading or investing in the crypto market, going down right here on the show. Appreciate you guys tuning in. It's been way too long of a break. I have that whole series for DeFi coins coming out with Eth at 3K. Man, I'm so excited. I'm stumbling on my words. I'm so excited for the next DeFi summer. Last DeFi summer that happened, ETH was below $1,000, $1,500. That happened last year, and you guys remember how far Aave went and YFI and Link. ETH at 3K. Do you know how hard some of these things can pump? So I'm going to be talking to the sharpest hedge funds, analysts, traders that I know. They're coming on to give me their coins, their strategies. That is all going down right here on the Profit Maximalist Show. So be sure you subscribe. If you watch here on YouTube or if you listen on iTunes and Spotify, be sure to subscribe. That's all I got for you guys. Appreciate you tuning in. Stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one.